Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Showcast, a series of candid conversations from film festivals and film markets everywhere, brought to you by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. In our final episode from the 57th Karlovy International Film Festival, we'll be speaking about the festival's celebration of independent Iranian cinema with a selection of singular works made in the past 4 or 5 years, presented in a section titled Another Birth, Iranian Cinema, Here and Now. We'll be speaking about it with its programmer and curator, Lorenzo Esposito, and we'll also be providing further context and insight through a chat with the Film Verdict's editor and senior critic, Deborah Young. Fire up on Audiotini and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. Hi Lorenzo, welcome to the Showcast.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to chat with us this morning. We overcame some challenges to document a conversation about an exciting section here at the Karlovy International Film Festival that you have curated. The section is called Another Birth, Iranian Cinema, Here and Now. And so the obligatory question is, could you introduce this section to us?
Yeah, sure. Basically, it happened to me in the last 5 years for my job in Berlinale to watch many independent Iranian films that for some reasons due to the, let's say, the structure of big festival or the context of discussion inside the committee, they didn't find the right place. That was my opinion. And I felt also something really new, something that was in some way exploding there in terms of looking for something different in cinema, and the energy of these people was so clear for me. Young people, all filmmakers that they don't care about, the big production or the perfection of their films. They just want to film. And I really wanted to give them a chance. To be honest with you, this section would have been possible even with 20 films, but we decided, to be a little bit rigorous and to give, just the first look to something which is for sure bigger than this.
The name of the section suggests a new movement in Iranian cinema, one that retains ties with the past, but is also at the same time doing something different. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's another point very interesting. They are young, but they know exactly everything about the history of their own country and the history of cinema. And this legacy with some of their, let's say, cinema prophets like Ibrahim Golestan or the mythic poet Forough Farrokhzad, also filmmaker, which is also the title of the retrospective is an homage to her poetry. Another Birth was the title of her poem. But at the same time, you can find a lot, for example, of homage to Kiarostami in all these 9 films. Even when you have a science fiction film like K9, let's just quote one of these films. You can feel this, which seems very different from Kiarostami. You can feel the legacy because you can feel the respect and the poetry at the same time to the images, to the people, and that Kiarostami declared one time, the good filmmaker, it's a filmmaker that maybe like my films, but they won't do the film like me, but something different.
Not to mention that this is all happening as filmmakers and film professionals face incredible challenges and obstacles from authorities, politics and heavy censorship.
Yeah, in these first 3 days, I had several Q&As with them. And of course, this is one of the question more answered from the audience. And they were very calm, I have to say, to explain the situation. They have to fight. They fight with censorship. They usually the censorship there ask for the script and they ask for a long discussion with the filmmaker. But they are very, very smart, I have to say. The goal for these guys and girls is to do the film. So they find a way to explain the the script, trying to hiding a little bit, the political point. But at the same time, they are very conscious that the cinema is not only, it's political because it's poetic. So they are able to explain to these people that they are doing something new in cinema, very filmic, very poetic. The political stuff comes naturally. But yeah, for them it's not easy. I'm even, surprised that they were all able to come to Karlovy. But you know, Matt, what happened yesterday? They just brought to me something very touching. There's just one filmmaker who was not able to come. And surprise, surprise, he's not in Iran. He's in Paris. So he has no visa from Paris to go to Czech Republic. And so there was a video call during the end of the film. And they told me, because I was not there, that was so touching, and the filmmaker started to crying, and also the audience. And we do this stuff for this job, for this stuff, to keep people unite and, to give a hope.
So can you tell us about the titles of this section?
Well, let's follow the alphabetical order if you want. Yeah, to be respectful for all of them. For example, Black and White River, it's a very peculiar and, if you want, a bit radical film. It's not a first film because we have some debut. This is one of the 2 world premiere we have. And it is something, very autobiographical and very intimate and poetic. And like many of these films, like, for example, Zapata, like, for example, On the Trip to the Moon, like The Locust. This is, for example, a theme that it repeats in all the sections. It's very metafilmic. They make cinema talking about the making of cinema. Also, Dreamsgate, it's a film about that. It's by a very young girl, half Kurdish, half Iranian, who has the courage to go to film and to document the fight of a Kurdish girl in the north of Syria, the border with Iraq, against ISIS. And it's a very, very crucial, this film, because you can feel that she learned how to film. She learned how to become adult at the same time. So all these films have this kind of, youthness, at the same time, some kind of forced maturity by the events. And this conscious, it's important also to reflect about cinema itself. Then you have something very political like No End, which is important to remind us of this film because it's written by Jafar Panahi. Again, it's exemplar because tell the story, very Kafkaesque, tell the story of this man controlled by the security forces in Iran. I think it's the first time that someone is able to shoot something like that. The director shot all the film in Turkey and in Turkish language, but talking about Iranian and Iran. But you have also, a debut like The Skin by the 2 Arcs brothers, very well expected after their first short who won an award in Cannes 2 years ago. Their first film, it's more something related to the Iranian cultural legend, folk tale, but with a new look, very connected to the genre film, fantastic and, horror. So you can see really that they are able to navigate at the same time the most important topics they have in their country, but also, again, to reflect on the new forms, new filmic forms, and the dynamic of the images, Let me also just quote a film like Zapata. because the director started a few years ago with the film Taj Mahal that was very, very well received in many festivals. And he was also an assistant director of a big production in Iran. And at some point, he decided, to do something totally different. And he wrote a film very quickly. He thought to make a film like, Roger Corman used to do, and 2 iPhones, a little GoPro camera, and make this very strange mix of dark comedy, mockumentary, melancholic drama. It's a crazy stuff, but so new, so energetic. And let me say also that maybe we have no masterpieces in this section, but this was also the goal. I really wanted to show how these people are looking for themselves and then are looking for their own cinema. So maybe you have even imperfections in these films, but you have really, really, we call usually I would say looking for cinema, and you have again another birth of Iranian cinema, and maybe another birth of cinema itself.
And Lorenzo, as a final question, beyond the things that you have already mentioned in your very generous answers, I would love to ask you whether you think that there's any other impact that a section like this can have, perhaps on the discourse on contemporary Iranian cinema, and also why is now a good time for a section like this, like Another Birth?
I mean that sometimes, we are using, I started as a film critic. Sometimes we are stuck in what we believe it's, a structure of the way we tell the story of a film, synopsis of the film, and then the content, and then I think also as a film programmer, we have to be ready to change continuously our horizon and our, ideas about what cinema is. And because we still don't know what cinema is. And every time, you think that you saw all the possible films, you have to know that there's someone else, another film, like these 9 films, that is saying something different. And you have to be ready to change your mind, to be open. There's a different kind of creativity, which is not the mainstream we are used to. No, let's say the truth. We are also experiencing in the last, let's say, 20 years, a big system, a European system of, co-production market, and there are people, they don't go to this co-production market and they do their own stuff. So they don't write proper screenplays or in a way we are used to. So my point is, so we have to be ready also to watch them and to write about them, to present them in a different way we are used to. And it's cinema, it's also life, no? We have to be ready to the change.
Let's continue to reflect on the impact of Iranian cinema of the past 4 or 5 years with a quick chat with the Film Verdict's editor and senior critic, Deborah Young. Hi, Deborah. Welcome to the Showcast.
Hi, Matt. It's great to be with you.
It's great to have you on to share your thoughts about today's topic. And Deborah, when you think of Iranian cinema of the past 5 years or so, what would you highlight as its defining traits?
The main thing that's defining cinema right now is the increasing repression of the Iranian regime against filmmakers, actors, producers, and especially about art films. And we've noticed that, of course, in all the festivals, because the directors who we would have expected to be there with new films have not come or have not even been able to produce their films. Right now, we're working on, the Film Verdict is working on the Locarno Film Festival, which is a major showcase in Europe. And although it rarely shows Iranian films, it did invite Critical Zone, which is a third film by the director Ali Ahmedzadeh. It's the story of a drug dealer, and it's set in the Tehran underworld. In any case, it was going to premiere, it will be premiering, it would have premiered in Locarno's international competition, but the authorities decided that it would not show. They've asked the director to withdraw it from the competition and withdraw it from the festival. And I've spoken to the producer, who's also a director, Sina Atiandena. He produced another film called Seven Winters in Tehran. Anyway, the critical zone is probably, I don't know if they're going to be able to get a copy to Locarno. We're going to see that in the next few days. But one of the terrible things is that the director is expecting to be arrested for refusing to withdraw the film, refusing to go along with what he's been being told to do. And he's been harassed a lot in these past weeks, just like the director of Seven Winters in Tehran was harassed when her film was a documentary on a woman who was hanged for killing a man who was trying to rape her. Her name is Steffi Niederzoli, and she's a German woman, a German director who's being harassed by the Iranian authorities for making a film about Iran. So we can easily see that what's happening is it's becoming more and more difficult to do anything. I'm thinking about Cannes, the recent Cannes Festival. There was a very nice film, very interesting film called Terrestrial Verses by two young directors, the first film. And it talked about all the bureaucracy and the pain that people go through in Iran just to do the simplest thing. And although it was a black comedy, and it really worked as a black comedy, you could see how much the atmosphere has changed in the last 5 years. 5 years ago, I was attending the Fajr Film Festival in Tehran, and things were opening up. Women were showing more hair, more everything. The films were much more open. People were talking freely. I was walking around downtown Tehran without an escort, without anything. Nobody was looking at me. 5 years ago, it was a very different story, Matt. And one can only wonder what's going to happen in the upcoming years.
So how do you feel has the international film festival scene responded to these Iranian films over the past 5 years or so?
That's their home now, because the only way that they can be seen in Iran, although they are seen, is through, illegal DVDs, which are passed from person to person. And the films that we're talking about are seen in Iran, but not in a commercial theater, of course. So for these directors and for their ideas, for their sales agents, for their producers, the international film festival scene is essential. And we need to support them. Whenever there's an Iranian film, it's very important to go and to discuss it and to tell other people about it. You can see that directors that we all know, like Jafar Panahi, are still making films. Most recently, he showed Three Faces and No Bears in Berlin this year. But these are films that in the film itself, we see that he is unable to officially shoot the film. And everything is kind of clandestine, on the border. The uncertainties are multiplying. And it's clearly an example of a director signaling to us, flagging us that things are not well, getting much, much worse.
And has film criticism been receptive to Iranian cinema during this time?
Well, I hope so. I mean, look at the case of Afghar Farhadi. He won the International Oscar for A Separation. And then he went on to make The Salesman and many other films. He's become something of an international art house name. He even made a film in Spain. Other directors that I love, for example, let's see, the director of Just 6.5 is Saeed Rustayi. He also made Layla and Her Brothers. Those were both really big festival films made with money, with a lot of production values, genre films, exciting films. And I think that the word has gotten out through our festivals, through the Western festivals, that these are fascinating films and we need to take a look at them. Another documentary, which I have to tell you about, if you haven't seen it, is Radiograph of a Family. I was made, about 3 years ago by a woman named Firuze Khosravi. And it was one of the most fascinating festival films. It got a lot of attention. I think it premiered at IDFA. And it's about her father and her mother, who were divided by their ideological beliefs at the time of the revolution in 1979. Her father was a doctor and a very liberal man who loved music and art. And her mother became a fervent supporter of the Iranian regime. She went to a training camp and learned how to shoot a machine gun. And it, of course, completely destroyed Firuze's family. But these are the kind of films that we are privileged to be able to have access to. And I think that our reviews are going to make a big difference.
And of course, an important part of it is for these films to be put in the position to be seen by as many people as possible, which is sometimes a problem.
You know, it's interesting that if you go on internet, you can find streamers who are showing, like Prime Video has a lot of Iranian films from the last 10 years. And it is possible to see these movies if you look hard enough.
Considering the unbalance, so to say, between the quality of the films that are coming out of Iran and the challenge that their filmmakers have to face just to create them, is there reason to be optimistic about the future?
Well, you know, I was in touch recently with a famous cinematographer whose name is Sayed Nikzad. And he was the cinematographer on The Time of Drunken Horses, one of the great classics of Iranian cinema, a film about the Kurds by Bahman Gobadi. And anyway, Sayed Nikzad was telling me that he has immigrated to Los Angeles and is looking for work there. He's just an amazing man. But he told me that Iranian cinema has shut down for him due to the interference of politics in all matters. And he says mostly propaganda films are being made now. This is the current snapshot. But I think that the future is going to depend on the political outcome of the uprising, whether people are able to change their way of governance or whether it goes on the way it is.
Thanks very much, Deborah.
Thank you, Matt. I was enjoyable to talk to you.
Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey through the world of independent Iranian cinema and exploration of the captivating selection in the Another Birth Iranian Cinema Here and Now section from this year's Karlovy International Film Festival. A special thanks to our guests, Lorenzo Esposito, the brilliant mind behind curating this exceptional lineup, and Deborah Young, the Film Verdict's editor and senior critic, for providing us with valuable context and thought-provoking perspectives. As we conclude our coverage from this festival in Karlovy, remember to stay tuned to the Showcast for more candid conversations, exclusive insights and engaging explorations on the world of film festivals and markets. Till the next time, from the Film Verdict, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.